Dr. Lieutenant Colonel Kamal Kalsi, welcome again to ITV Gold. Thank you so much for giving us your time here today.
Thanks, Aditi. It's always a pleasure to be here.
You know, there's so much to discuss today in coronavirus, so let's go right into it. Let's talk about the biggest news that has kind of shocked and concerned the nation when it concerns with coronavirus. Today, the CDC and FDA basically paused the Johnson & Johnson vaccine after seeing 6 cases of rare blood clots in 6 women. My question to you is, what is this connection that we keep on seeing between vaccines and blood clots, and how are you observing this pause on Johnson & Johnson?
Yeah, you bring up a great point, Aditi, and this is how medicine and science works. You know, as you get new information, you reevaluate, and so the CDC did the responsible thing, which is, if you see some complications, I think there were 6 cases, as you mentioned, of blood clots. And they're basically just taking time to figure out, is this a true connection between the J&J vaccine and blood clots, or is this just, a unfortunate coincidence? So I think they're looking at all the data, and we should get a result. We should get some sort of results one way or another, and more information from them within hopefully another week or 2. And if it ends up being that J&J causes a higher risk of blood clots, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily off the table. That means that you have to either try to find a way to mitigate that risk, either through aspirin or blood thinners, or a doctor talking to a patient saying, hey, look, there is some risk of potential blood clots with this. Like any medicine, there may be circumstances where the risks sometimes outweigh the benefits, and vice versa as well. It may be that some patients would benefit more from the J&J vaccine, the risk of blood clots, if they're very minuscule, the benefits may potentially outweigh the risks.
These blood clots, what can they do to the body? What's the most dangerous thing that can happen with it?
The most dangerous thing is that you could die. There are, it just depends on where the blood clots might be. If the blood clot's in the leg, that's easily remedied by blood thinners. If the blood clot travels to the lungs and becomes what's called a pulmonary embolism, that can cause severe chest pain and difficulty breathing. It can cause lung damage. It can cause all sorts of respiratory issues. So I think there is a wide range of possibilities in terms of things that this could cause, in terms of what a blood clot could cause. Certainly heart attack and stroke are also on that list, but hopefully we find out that isn't necessarily a causal effect. But we have to find out. I found also very interesting and disturbing that that India may actually take the number 2 spot in number of infections pretty soon, overtaking Brazil.
Right. When we're looking at these blood clots and the issues we're having, AstraZeneca has had similar issues of blood clots, and they are right now on pause as well in many European nations. We're waiting for AstraZeneca's approval in the US. Is this similar? Is it the same kind of blood clots that we're seeing in this vaccine? And do you think it'll get approved in the US?
So I don't know exactly if they're the same types of blood clots. I don't have the access to that type of data. But I know that AstraZeneca also was paused due to blood clots and other complications. Do I think AstraZeneca will get approved in the US? I think pending further investigation, if they don't see any other complications, then I think it could get potentially fast-tracked for approval. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon. There's a lot more to investigate. But people need vaccine. We here in the U.S. have been vaccinating people, between 1 and 2 million people a day, which is tremendous. I think the Biden administration has been doing an excellent job so far in getting the vaccine out. But we need something like close to 70% of the population to be vaccinated in order to achieve herd immunization or herd immunity. And with all these variants popping up, it becomes a huge challenge. And we, quite frankly, don't know exactly whether these how well the vaccines are going to fare against all of the variants out there.
Right. And just going back to Johnson & Johnson here for a second, many people are right now concerned about what can happen to them if they have taken the Johnson & Johnson single dose COVID-19 shot. How are you looking at that? What are the risks of them developing these blood clots after they have been vaccinated?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I would tell those patients to, if you've had J&J, go to your primary care doctor, go to your general practitioner and have a conversation with them. Essentially, if you have a high risk of clots, your doctor may decide to put you on aspirin or a blood thinner for a short period. But if you're young and healthy, your doctor may just choose to monitor you. But again, it's a conversation that they should have with their primary doctor.
Right. And, just a little bit ago, you've mentioned the variants of coronavirus, which are spreading all across the nation. New York and New Jersey, where you are, and New York, where we are, is a part of those 5 to 6 states that are seeing lots of variants going around. Experts are getting worried about a surge that is coming up. What is the relation between those two things? And how worried are you as a medical professional about this upcoming surge?
We're very worried. I mean, we're actually in the surge already. And in New Jersey, for example, we have seen a week-over-week increase for the last several weeks now. There's a lot of theories behind what's driving it. It could be that there's some people that are tired of staying in all the time. So there is, it could just be people, not following protocols, not masking, and then going out into large public spaces with lots and lots of people, or having large gatherings. The other thought process is that it could be related to the new variant. So the UK variant is actually now the most predominant variant in New Jersey. And I believe it's now becoming the most common variant in the United States overall. But this UK variant, it is more infectious, and it is certainly causing more complications. It's making people sicker than the original coronavirus variant that we had here. So, I think we have to. There's a lot of unanswered questions. There's a lot that we still have to research and figure out. With spring break upon us, a lot of folks are on spring break this week. That in itself is concerning, because all these spring breakers are going to go out, potentially get infected, and bring it home all over the country. So we're very worried, and we may see this surge for the next couple months before we get a handle on it again.
I'm aware that Pfizer and Moderna are both effective against the UK variant, but my question to you is, can we vaccinate people fast enough to reduce the impact of this variant? Or do you think right now with the surge, we're a little too late?
So we have the capability. If you go on the numbers that the Biden administration has put out, they're vaccinating about 1% of the population roughly each day. So if you figure that we've got somewhere between 15 and 20% of the population vaccinated, if you can continue to vaccinate 1% of the population per day, we should hit 70% by the end of June, maybe early July. That would be quite an accomplishment. And then we could work on figuring out what we're going to do for the fall. I believe what is likely is that kids will also get the vaccine. They're looking at studies in Europe right now, and some smaller studies here in the U.S. At giving kids the vaccines. And then the other thing that I think likely will happen is there will be some sort of a booster shot, that to address the variants that are out there.
When do you think we will need to take the booster shot, according to you?
It's hard to predict. I think there's a chance that they may have a booster shot ready by the end of the year, but that may be a little premature. So it depends on how quickly we can get all these vaccines mobilized and into the arms of people. And it depends on how many variants we have, what are the predominant variants. Right now, I believe there are maybe a dozen different variants, but 3 of them are the serious ones and the ones that we're really concerned about.
And meanwhile, several states across the country have now loosened their COVID-19 restrictions. When you just are looking at these variants, the effectiveness of the vaccine, a possible booster shot, is this wise for these states to open up the way they're opening up? What is your suggestion to them?
No, I don't think it's wise at all. I mean, frankly, I think it's quite stupid to be relaxing guidelines right now. And I understand that you have to balance economic concerns versus health concerns, but public health and safety comes first, and if you're an elected official and you're putting the public's health in danger, I think you should leave that position. You should no longer be a public official.
Right. And more questions on vaccine here. Air travel has been something that's become a debate across the country because it's hitting high records during the pandemic, but people are also getting sick across the country. How much is air travel, do you think, contributing to these surging cases?
It's hard to say. I know the Army did their own research with regards to planes and the transmission of the virus. And I think what they had found was that air travel could be accomplished safely as long as people were masked and as long as people, again, just were very careful, washing hands, not touching your face and eyes and all that. I don't know, I think is the true answer. I don't know how much of a infectious burden the flying adds to this. But I know that the large gatherings, getting together for in stadiums for large football or soccer or in any large enclosed space for any reason, it definitely is a large contributing factor.
According to you, what can be done after somebody is vaccinated? What is the safest thing we can do?
You want to have a small gathering at your house with family and friends. I think that's a safe thing to do. If you want to go to the beach locally and keep yourself distanced from people, I think you could do that safely. If you have a restaurant that you could do the socially distanced meal in with your family or a small group, I think that's safe. And I think we'll get more and more information, more and more data about what things are safe. As more and more people get infected in this next surge, I think we may start to see more and more restrictions. So it's in our best interest to try to control this as quickly as we can. And it behooves everybody to try to get the vaccine if it's available to them.
Right, get vaccinated and continue to follow those 3 key guidelines. I'm sure you would agree with that. My last question to you actually deals with India. You just mentioned it too in the interview. India is seeing a surging of cases like never before. They are in a really big wave of COVID-19. It's home to many of our viewers. How are you looking at this surge? What could be the impact of that on the country? And any advice to, South Asians living there?
Yeah, it's really heartbreaking to see all those cases in India, and I know that they're suffering. And our heart goes out to them. So we're definitely praying for our friends and family in India. Part of the problem I think India has had is just the tremendous amount of corruption surrounding COVID-19. We've seen reports of people getting fake vaccinations. There's fake tests. So this is not rocket science, right? You need to you need to test people, and then 2, you need to deliver vaccine. So I mean, if you can't do those 2 things correctly, you're in trouble. And I think that's a large part of why India is in trouble right now. I think they can figure out and eventually get a handle on it. I do think that they need to address these issues of counterfeit vaccine and counterfeit tests that stem from corruption.
And just a follow-up question, just to India, you're seeing them have a lot of surge, and the government is trying to control it. But what do you think they should be doing right now to truly control this? They are starting to do lockdowns. There are city curfews. But India is the 2nd most populous nation in the world. What could be the final impact if they don't get it in control?
Yeah, I mean, lockdown is a resort of last measure. If they don't get it under control, they'll see more and more economic impact and a severe recession, and not to mention just a tremendous loss of life that could potentially happen in a nation of a billion people. I think the impacts are many, but the Indians are strong and smart, and I know that they will figure out a way to handle this situation.
Right. Let's hope for the best here. Thank you so much for your time here on ITV Gold.
Thanks, Aditi. Always a pleasure.